And it's not rudeness, and then you try and stifle it again because you feel like you've been rude. I mean, if you're being obvious and you sort of like say, yawn, I'm saying yawn because you didn't realise that by actually yawning I was bored, you know, that's rude. But
Yes.
when you're physically just responding, it's not rude, but people treat it like it is.
There's a saying that is said that sighing is the highest form of prayer. It's finally letting go. It's finally letting go. And of course, prayer is about letting go, surrendering to a higher power, as it were. Perhaps we won't go into that side of things, but certainly when we sigh or when we have a long breath out, it's associated with letting go of tension. And then it allows us to have a deep breath in. Whereas if we don't sigh, if we don't breathe out deeply, then our in-breath is going to be very shallow.
That's true. And also, if you don't breathe out completely, you're not clearing, from a scientific point of view, you're not clearing the carbon dioxide from your lungs. Yes. So you've still got it in there for next time round.
And we human beings really need a good clearing.
We do it in so many ways. Maybe I ought to get you to speak to the Health Matters girls as well about this. Well, I'm sure they'd be interested. But, I mean, we're looking at it from the art side of things. I mean, there is the health side of it. But this is health turned into an art form. I mean, you mentioned something called Qigong.
Yes.
Could you explain that to our listeners, please?
Qi means energy, Gong means work. It's a fancy name, as it were, for energy work or exercise. And what that means, Qigong means, it means breathing mindfully, that is, breathing consciously, moving consciously, animating the body and mind in a more conscious way. So when you move and when you breathe, you coordinate your breathing with your movement very purposefully, very consciously. And this is said to be very good for health. The Chinese believe when the mind and body are not united, when the mind, body and spirit are not united, then we're open to various illnesses or the invasion of pernicious influences. And so what they say, the mind, body and spirit has to be together, which means that you are where your body is, rather than worrying about what's around the corner. And your spirit, or where you really want to be, is also here. So if this is not where I really want to be right this moment, my spirit or my will be thinking about someplace else. And so they say this is that one is then open to all sorts of illness and depression and whatever, because one isn't where one wants to be, one isn't presently engaged.
That's a lot of people say that in modern things. I've done that with life coaching when I'm dealing with people. It's just like being in the moment. They are so worried about something else that happened yesterday, a week ago, 10 years ago. There's people who are still stressing about things that happened in their childhood. That it's not conscious stress, and they're not in the moment. They're not enjoying their life now.
The mind is always behind. The thought is always behind. The body is here and now, and the body can rest here and now. But we agitate the body with the mind, with worries about the future, and the future doesn't exist. There's only here and now. The future is imagination. The past is a memory. All we have is here and now. And if we're truly here and now, focused in this moment, it's all right. You know, where are the problems?
Yeah, and that's something that so many people don't actually recognise. I mean, I've done this when I'm doing therapy. I'm a hypnotherapist, so I've had to come across something much like that, the same. But what Qigong seems to offer, from what you're saying, and what Tai Chi offers, is a way of bringing together a physical training as well as the mental training, and bringing you into the moment by actually bringing your mind, body and spirit, as you say, all together in one time. And then you start to appreciate how much better you can be, and you tend to take that away with you, because one of the things you said about being trained and being able to relax and breathe out, I can remember, I still laugh about it, my parents always said when I was a child, they'd try and tell me to relax and go to sleep. So I'd scrunch my eyes up as tight as I could and grip my teeth and try and say that I was relaxed because my eyes were closed. And you have this wrong belief. I mean, that was mine, but I know that other people have this other way, that they're thinking that by trying harder to relax, they don't realise the conflict that's going on.
Trying is very trying.
Yes.
And we can't try to relax, because all trying is effort, and all trying is holding on, whereas relaxation is like letting go of holding heavy shopping bags. In the letting go, there is just letting go. There isn't the effort to drop the bags. There is just the dropping of the bags. So we want to drop our bags.
Right, okay. See, now mine, but when you mention shopping bags to me, I'm thinking of things like bottles, and that is taking myself immediately. I suppose that's taking myself out of the moment, coming up with the imagination about possible problems instead of just thinking, just drop the bag, just let it go down, and that's what you're trying to teach people to do. It's the skill of being able to let go of things.
We teach, that is, my partner and I, Kathy, we teach a form of Qigong known as Tao Yin. And Tao Yin is ancient Qigong. We teach a modern form known as Tao Yin Yang Shen Gong, which means basically nourishing the life force or looking after oneself, basically. And it's a system put together by a man called Professor Zhang from Beijing. Professor Zhang got very ill in the 1950s, and we've got to move on.
No. That's just, I was laughing. Sorry, I've got to excuse myself, but explain to the listeners. As Graham was talking there, I've been trying to consciously breathe through my diaphragm the whole interview.
Okay.
I've been working at that, and I found myself yawning, and it was my body. And then I found myself trying to stop myself because I thought Graham might find it rude. And then I thought I'd let it go, and then he thought, should we move on? So
I'm quite used to people yawning when I talk.
No, I'm taking your advice, Graham. I'm not bored at all. I'm absolutely fascinated by this.
Professor Zhang was a very famous wushu or kung fu teacher in Beijing at Beijing University of Physical Education. In the 50s, he became very, very ill, and he turned to... he couldn't afford Western medicine, so he turned to alternative medicine, and particularly Qigong, and he researched Qigong. And he researched Tao Yin Qigong. And he put together a wonderful system, which both my partner and I teach. And it's very, very good. And you have specific forms. Each form will have 8 specific movements. And you'll have forms perhaps for diabetes. You'll have forms for stomach disorders, or for heart disorders, or for breathing disorders, or you have a general form which is good for general health, or you have what is called the concentration exercise, which is just practicing being present.
Now that sounds, to me, that's an effort. It's just actually being in the moment. I mean, I know I teach it, but you do find things, because we're trained to think about what's going to happen next, what's going to happen around the corner, and all this sort of stuff from childhood. We're trained not to be in the moment, and it's really difficult for some people to make that transition back, because what you learn as a child, you base all your future knowledge or all your continued knowledge based upon what you understood as a child. So everything refers back to there. It's all related to what you learned when you were young. So if you learn not to breathe properly and not to be in the moment when you're young, changing back is such an effort for some people. However, when you say about the Tao Yin classes, they are a very good way of going about it, because I won't say that they're simple exercises. I mean, they can be quite difficult for some people to get their head around, but they're not complicated exercises to do in the Tao Yin. I mean, if you look at something like Tai Chi, for example, you've got a form of 24 moves or 10 moves or like that. The Tao Yin exercises, as I understand them, from having worked with you and Master Andrew before, they're not that complicated. It's just getting them right. Isn't so easy. Yeah.
No, they're small adjustments. So it's not something you could learn from a video. It's not something you can learn from a book. And this is why you need a teacher. This is why we need a teacher. This is why every week I train with my own master. They're small adjustments. It's a little bit like an old wireless set, and tuning in, fine-tuning to find the station. And the teacher will help you through the subtlety of the movements to fine-tune. And when you fine-tune the movements, then you start to really experience the results.
And that's another thing we discussed before we actually came on air, about it being one man's medicine, another man's poison, because fine-tuning for me is different than it would be for you, because the posture, the general movement is to get an idea. But if I were to turn my wrist in one direction, it wouldn't necessarily work as well for you, because each person is different. So you can't, as you said, you can't learn from a book, you can't learn from a video. Yes. You have to be adjusted to suit your own physical form.
Yes. Need to say, many people do try to learn from videos and books, and it's understandable if you don't have the physical presence of a teacher. And some people actually learn from books and videos and start teaching, which is a little bit naughty.
I've encountered them.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, it's not that you can't top up from a book.
Absolutely.
Or I mean, for example, Master
Useful
Andrew,
resource.
which we've referred to,
Yeah.
Master Andrew Austin, he's written a book himself, hasn't he?
That's right, the 24 forms.
Yep, and when you look at it, if you've got a teacher that you can refer to, and you can say, right, okay, what did you mean? What does this particular part mean?
Yes.
They'll find it that how it works for you, because, for example, a 4 foot tall underweight woman would have a completely different approach to how she does the form to a 6'7" overweight trucker of a guy.
Right.
I mean, they got the two. They're still doing exactly the same form, but the way they've got to adjust themselves physically
absolutely.
will change,
Yeah.
because it's down to their physique as well as
Yes.
their size.
And it's very important in teaching Tai Chi that you show people where their knees are and how to move in such a way that you're not going to damage yourself. People can damage themselves through Tai Chi, and usually it's those people who've learned it from videos and books and stuff.
Yeah, they think they've got it right, and they're missing
Yeah.
a small part of the puzzle, and,
Yeah.
and that can make a difference. Right, we're going to come back and talk a little bit more later, but we were having a little bit of a discussion about how to be in the moment and how to let go. And for that, we're going to give going to do a little station announcement, and then we're going to give a song by En Vogue, which tells you how to treat your mind.